All right, here we go. A tradition unlike any other, man. Salute to Knicks Nation on this Friday afternoon. CP the Fanchise here with a special edition of KnicksFanTV Live. You guys have been waiting all season for this, and as we get closer to the New York Knicks 2025-26 campaign, we got to preview the season with the one, the only Emmy Award winning broadcaster, analyst, host, whatever you want to call him. This man does it all, man. ESPN, MSG, you can catch him everywhere, man. Hahn Solo, Alan Hahn is back with us for the annual season preview show. Call us up on the KFTV Discord if you want to talk to Hahn Solo about those Knicks. And let's get into it, man. Hit the like button, hit the share button, and subscribe to the channel. Let's go. All right, man. Solo, welcome back, man. Happy Friday. Good to see you again, man.
It's good to see you as well. Good to be seen. I was in the building last night, and it's amazing for a preseason game to feel that kind of energy. You know, it's incredible. The anticipation for this season is off the charts, unlike any that I remember in the 20-plus years that I've covered this team as either a sports writer or as a broadcaster. And it takes me way back when you think about what this season could be about. And you know what it's going to be about, bro? Props. It's about this.
There we go.
It's about this, right? It's about making sure that you can get one of these at the end of the year. That's what this season's about.
Yeah, and, you know, you've been there for quite some times, through the ups and through the downs, the hills and the valleys, but this just feels different, right? Like, yeah. I mean, especially coming off the heels of last year, the anticipation, you can feel it, man. It's never left.
Yeah, and I looked it up. So the Knicks right now have the second shortest odds to win the championship, according to Vegas. The last time they were there was going into the 94-95 season. They were the odds-on favorites going into the 93-94 season. We all know why Michael Jordan went to play baseball. The story is well documented. They get to Game 7. Then going into the next year, they had the second shortest odds. So we're talking about 30-plus years since they've been this high when it comes to expectations of winning a title. So it's their form. It's exciting. And you could tell everybody feels it. There's an urgency, but the way they're playing, what you've seen already in a couple of preseason games, you could tell that they kind of are feeling like, yeah, we got a chance at this thing. And that's what you love, that they get it and they understand it, not running from it. They're talking about it. And you can feel the anticipation from the fan base as well. We haven't had something like this in a long time. And I always love this line. It's like the glory years thing, right? If only we knew when we were in the glory years when they were happening rather than after when you look back. And I tell a lot of the younger fans that all of us old heads that like to talk about the 90s and what it felt like and how great it was, that's this.
That's it. That's it for the younger generation to experience. And I ran into Worldwide West a couple of days ago. I was at a conference, and one of the panels Nike was hosting there, actually speaking on a documentary about George Raveling. So Wes was there, and I'm talking to him afterwards. He's like, yeah, you know, what do you think of the job that we're doing? And, you know, I looked at him, almost paused for a second, because it's like, man, like, over the last 30-some-odd years of watching Knick regimes just, you know, stumble and chase and mortgage and gamble, I'm like, this is a methodical, diligent process that we've been watching build and unfold over the last 5 years. They've done a good job.
It's been smart moves. The chasing thing that you said, it really is a good way to describe it, because it always felt like and I don't blame them. Many of those years, it's like just trying to find that guy, right? Just, you know, went and got Carmelo way back when, and you got a guy, and now you're trying to build something around it, and it didn't work, and then you start going through trying something new. And it's amazing what the arrival of Leon Rose has done to this organization and the people that he has brought in to help take an organization that really just couldn't find its way and didn't have an identity and was constantly in transition to finally have just stability and an identity and an understanding that even when there's tough decisions to be made, when it comes to either a trade or a coaching decision, that they were willing to make it because all they're about is one thing and one thing only: winning. And I'll tell you right now, I know personally, Leon Rose is obsessed with winning a championship. And that's what you love at the very top of your organization.
Yeah, no question about it, and so much so that look, he had to part ways with a friend and
Yep.
close confidant there in Tom Thibodeau, and bringing in Mike Brown. What's been your impressions of Brown just through the sound bites and training camp, preseason so far?
Yeah, and spending time with him as well. He's a very genuine guy. You can see what he's about. Look, he's been in the league for 2 decades. He spent a lot more than that. He spent a lot of time in the NBA as an assistant coach. He's been a head coach in several places. He's had to deal with expectations and intensity when it comes to coaching the Lakers. I mean, think about who he replaced in LA, having Kobe Bryant on your team. He's had that. He's coached LeBron James. Like, this is not somebody that's walking into something wide-eyed. He's walking into it with a plan. He knew exactly what he wanted to do with this team. You can tell that this isn't somebody that is just stepping in saying, you're playing my way, that he looked at the roster, he watched the team, and probably from afar, like a lot of coaches did, because talking to coaches all last season with the Knicks, it was always like, man, I would try this, I would do this. And so he already was prepared for the job before he even got it, because he looked at the team and what they had and said, oh, you can try things like this, and I think you can really unlock some stuff. And the best part is that you could see the players buying in right away, which tells you there's something genuine about this guy, that he's not the type of coach that is still figuring things out. And I think that's the most important. A lot of times pros want to know that you know. And once they're confident that you believe in what you got, what you're teaching, they'll buy into it. You see that right away. I still think it might take a little time for them to figure out the offense, right? But I just think Mike Brown comes in, and the best word I can use to describe him is he's very prepared for this job, especially with the expectations that come with it.
Yeah, and especially, coming from some of the missteps of the past, especially recently in Sacramento. And it just seems as though, based on what you're hearing and the research that we did on him this offseason, seems like a guy who has learned from those mistakes, but also understands what's needed here. The expectations of Leon Rose, the front office, what Tibbs may or may not have been giving them that they felt like they needed to make this move. It seems like Mike Brown has really done his homework here and is trying to kind of fill in those gaps and those weaknesses.
Yeah, and then sometimes it's, the Joe Torre comparison might be the best one. Those who are Yankee fans know that story. It was, Buck Showalter got the Yankees back on track and got them respectable and competitive, and after some terrible years. But it felt like he just, could he get him over the hump? Could he take him to the next level? And Joe Torre came in with some experience. He'd been around and replaced a guy that a lot of people were shocked was getting replaced. But it was just right guy, right time, right team. And that's, if you're a Knicks fan, that's what you're hoping Mike Brown is for this group, this Knicks team.
When you mentioned the offense, a lot has been made about the offense as soon as he was hired. How is it going to be different? They were number 5 last year, but they sputtered at certain moments, and especially in the playoffs. You were in the building last night. Any noticeable differences with the offense, the pace, the speed? Any observations there?
Yeah, that first quarter, they were getting out. That's what I loved. Knicks, Timberwolves, 2 teams that got to the conference finals last year, 2 teams that have a lot of talent. 2 teams that it's preseason, they don't care. Are we keeping score? We're going. And I thought that was great. They've had some good preseason games in the past couple of years. They seem to play each other each year.
Yeah.
And I kind of love how they got after each other and got after it. So the shooting wasn't great, but it's preseason. You don't count shooting in the preseason, right, good or bad, I think, because, the lights aren't bright yet and the legs aren't under you yet. What I liked is the compete level. So you were getting the Timberwolves' best. They weren't half-assing that game, man. Like they were defending. And so what I liked was that level right away. So it tells you there's a standard. Mm-hmm. But then the difference you see is there's just a lot. You said the 2 words that everybody's going to talk about, speed and tempo, up-tempo. And while at the end of the game, the pace numbers didn't jump off the page like they did in Abu Dhabi, where the Knicks played at 102.5, their starters did, it still felt faster. You saw Bridges leak out. You saw opportunities to run, to push the ball, looking up the floor instead of walking it up. There's a lot of things there. Even just the effort to get down the floor, to fill the lanes, to get to the corners. there's a lot more emphasis on it, and you can see that the players have a lot more of like a determination to do it. And so that felt better. That felt faster to me. And though they couldn't, I mean, they were building a brick house with some of these shots. But as Mike Brown said after the game, and I agreed with him, I was sitting with somebody during the game, and I was commenting this team's going to light it up when they knock down their shots. They were getting the looks they wanted. So I feel like the pace, the speed, the urgency up the floor on makes and misses, I think you're going to see this offense possibly get to another level and not be so independent on it being a Brunson game or a Karl Anthony Towns game. I think it'll just be, if you focus on one of our guys in the middle, spray out, and we're going to get a ton of threes. And then you're anticipating guys like Bridges, Anunoby, they can hit threes. McBride, like they can knock those shots down, and that's going to make opposing defenses pay.
Yeah, I haven't been as worried about the misses. I thought they got good quality looks yesterday, so it's only a matter of time before they knock those down. But Mike Brown had a interesting soundbite yesterday that had a lot of fans buzzing, in that no plays were ran in this game. No plays. Just amazing. Read and react and let the game tell you what to do. And I was joking with fans saying, "Hey, we heard that before." But what'd you make of those comments by Mike Brown?
Yeah, it's funny because when you saw them playing in the first half, because I really focus mostly on the first half of preseason games, because that's when you're really getting the best of your best. And I was watching how the offense was flowing, and some of like the 2-man game with Towns and Brunson. You remember that little give and go kind of play? Like I was feeling like there was a lot of freelance going on.
Yeah.
And there was another one where it was just like ball movement and a good back and forth, and they get a corner three. And as I'm watching, I'm like it doesn't look like a set. Like it just looks like some freelance. Just you get it here, and then we just like a guy will cut, and it's reading off each other. And I remember before, after practice earlier in the week, Bridges had talked about how a lot of the things that they're doing is not playbook. It's just more concepts. This is what we want you to do, and then play off the concept. So the idea of a concept is sort of like this. If you're the 3 or if you're the 4 and the ball now is inbounded or the ball is rebounded, you know already, okay, my job is to get to this spot, my job is to get to that spot, and you just go to them, and then you just see what happens. And a lot of times, if you run hard enough, you might get ahead of your defender. Now you're open, so the ball comes to you. Now you're waiting to see how everybody reacts. Basketball IQ is big when it comes to playing this way, because you don't have the robotic, I'm supposed to set a screen, now I got to come up and, like there was a couple of times you saw even Brunson call Mitchell Robinson up, come get me. Or the one time he waved him off. That's all just sort of feel. And when you have guys that are, and I've always believed this team, I've said this before, this is a very smart basketball team. And so you have high IQ players who understand just how to play off feel. That's when, once you put plays in, well, now you can really mess with the opponent. So I like the fact that they did this. It does show you that Brown sees, I got a smart enough team that I think we could play a whole game without calling a play. And they did. And it was pretty impressive.
Yeah, very interesting indeed. And the spotlight is obviously on the captain every game. How is he adjusting? How is he playing? Are they going to go back to his style? I mean, this is the reigning NBA Clutch Player of the Year, who for the most part of his career, especially as a starter, has been very impactful with the ball in his hands. What do you think of the impacts of this new offense on Brunson and how he'll fare?
First of all, physically, he looks fantastic.
Looks good,
right? Like he really does look good physically. He's leaned up a little bit. But he's also, like, I saw a couple of times a little bit of as Clyde always says, maestro, virtuoso. Yeah. Like he had a lot of that going on, where instead of thinking, and maybe there's no pressure to score because it's preseason, so he's not feeling like I got to get a bucket here. He just played very at ease, and I like that. I think this is a smart way for him to play. He has really taken a beating the last 2 years. I mean, think about it in the playoffs, whether it was what the Pistons were doing with him, right? With Thompson, just picking him up 50 feet from the basket. They're being physical with him. They're running him into another player. Now he's got to battle through two. What obviously what the Pacers, did to him. The Celtics tried to do the same thing, just beating him up, bodying him. I think after a while, that's got to wear a player down. He's so good that he can handle it. He's so strong. But the way they're looking at it is to sort of play him like Steph Curry, and Steph Curry will play off the ball and run around screens and wear you out instead of you wearing him out. And now, again, they're not exactly the same player, but the idea is sort of the same because Brunson's so smart with his cutting and his ability to catch and shoot, by the way. I did the numbers. He's a 44% catch and shoot three guy. He just doesn't take enough per game for it to really be impactful. So if he could shoot 44% on catch and shoot and you can get him, like Curry gets 5 a game, 5 or 6 a game. If he can get those and shoot 44%, now all of a sudden he's getting easier offense. So I think as it evolves, he's too smart of a player to not figure it out. And I really think it's going to be beneficial. And you still have a guy that in the last minute of the game, then you can do the, clear it out and let him cook because we know he's got some of the best footwork in the NBA and one-on-one, he's virtually unstoppable.
Yeah, I agree. We just got to give him some time to settle in and get used to it. But I'm with you. He could use that time off of the ball because the season is so taxing and demanding on him. And Knicks were fortunate to get to the playoffs last year with a relatively healthy team and him recovering from that ankle injury really in the nick of time and to be as impactful as he was in the playoffs. But you saw, especially as the playoffs wore on, the matchups that he had to take on from Amen Thompson to Holiday and White, and then the entire Pacer team, if you want to call it that, because
all of them,
they're throwing him, at him in waves to 94 feet. He wore down, man. They need options in this offense.
Now let me ask you this, because you have the pulse of the fan better than anybody. And I don't, I'm just saying hypothetically, if Brunson goes from being like a 29 point per game guy, a guy's almost 30 a game, one of the top scorers in the NBA, if he drops to 21, 22 points a game, mainly because maybe there's less shots, maybe there's less you know what I mean? Maybe that happened. How do people react? Do they go, oh, he's falling off? Oh, this offense isn't working for him. He's not scoring 30 a game.
Yeah.
How would you view that? Because it all depends. First of all, everything's what it looks like. If the team's winning, nobody cares.
Right. That's it.
And if the offense is one of the best in the league, nobody cares. But I still think people in the NBA more than maybe baseball is the only other sport. But it's amazing how people in the NBA will look at your numbers and it's like, oh, he's only averaging 21 a game. See, I hate when people, I told you he wasn't one of the best. They'll find a reason to be critical when it might end up being the best thing for him, and he still could be one of the top clutch players in the league. So do you think people will watch numbers and react and think that Mike Brown's system is not conducive to Brunson's success based only on how much he's averaging per game?
Yeah, but winning will cure that, as you said. It's almost like the conversation that we have with Tatum when it comes to like the MVP race, right? And you're playing with the players that he's playing with, and he's like, all right, is it him? Is he as impactful? Is he that good? As long as the Knicks are winning, I think fans will accept a dial back in numbers from Brunson as long as he's flowing with those guys. And the Knicks have shown even in last year that at times it can be equal opportunity. From Towns to OG to Bridges, and when Hart was in the lineup, all those guys were capable of double-digit scoring on any night.
Yeah, and I think that's going to be that might be more of the key to this year. Like watching a guy like Mikal Bridges, his numbers could go up because of opportunity. Because he'll leak out when in the past he wasn't able to do that. Now, if he's leaking out and Brunson's looking up and finds him, he's getting quick, easy scores, right? You're getting that kind of bucket. You're getting, Towns got to find himself in this offense too, and I'm curious to see where he finds himself. But I just feel like there might be just more opportunity to score, not based off of I'm calling plays for this guy more than I'm calling plays for this guy, more just in the flow of how they're playing. That's kind of what I was seeing last night, and also in the first 2 preseason games in Abu Dhabi. It just looked to me like there's just going to be naturally more opportunities for other people to score that isn't about, oh, I'm getting this guy more shots or I'm focused on getting him more shots that we see. And that's a narrative people talk about is they always talk about who's getting shots. Well, it's all and that's where it goes back to the game kind of dictates, will tell you what it's going to be. So I was just curious what you thought about the final numbers and if it happens where Brunson's not averaging almost 30 like he has the last couple of seasons, if people will turn that into, because I feel like people always try to find the negative even when there's something positive.
For sure. But But I also think if he is back in that range, say like the low 20s range, it's an opportunity for others to step up. And you just mentioned the name who I think is again going to be critical for this team's chances this year, and that's Mikal Bridges.
Yep.
And Mike Brown has been very high on him. I think Bridges has had the best preseason just in terms of overall look, flow. He seems more comfortable in the offense, but in an offense that's predicated on high IQ, cutting ability, athleticism, versatility, guys who can play make, put the ball on the floor, and score, I think Mikal Bridges outside of Brunson is very important for this whole thing to work.
And I'll tell you what, CP, he looks so much more comfortable this year. It's amazing what a year and $150 million can do for you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like he seems so, and I love it because he's such a good guy. He seems so much at ease now. Last year, there were times there were times he was chill, and then there were times you could just tell he was a little tight. Like,
he had an
just
edge.
Wasn't comfortable. And you were wondering, like, does he not like dealing with media? Does he not like? Couldn't figure it out. And there was a lot of criticism of him. Remember early in the season, he was just getting pummeled, and then he had that great game in Charlotte. And then obviously Christmas Day was tremendous. Mm-hmm. But I feel like he has an ease and a comfort now about him in where he is. I think maybe now he knows I'm here for good because of the extension. And then maybe even the system is more appealing to him because it's allowing him to play fast, to get up and down the floor, and to not be so structured. He might really thrive this way. So, he's never been an all-star, but he has all-star talent. When you think about, make a list of players right now, like 3 players in the NBA that have all-star ability have never been an all-star.
Yeah,
he's got to be one
up
of
there.
them, right?
Absolutely, yeah, definitely.
Again, we're not talking about rookies. I'm talking about like guys who have been in the league more than 3-4 years. He's got to be one of the top 3 players that has all-star talent who's never been an all-star. This could very much be the year if he plays the way, like I loved his game last night against Timberwolves. I thought he looked really good.
For sure, especially in transition and and attacking the basket. We're seeing Mikal Bridges attack the basket much
trying
more
to draw
layups,
fouls. Yes,
trying to draw fouls. So it seems like he's a guy that really had some introspection and self-awareness from the season that he had and some of the expectations. And I like that he kind of put that chip on his shoulder. Like people thought I played well in the playoffs last year, but I think there's more I could have done. So,
it's a great quote.
I like that approach there from Mikal Bridges for sure.
Yeah, it shows you his awareness of where he is as a player, and the fact that he knows that he didn't have a great season or a great start, but he knows he had a good playoffs. He had good moments, none better than those moments late in the Celtic wins. But he wants more, and that's what you love. He got his contract, but he wants more. Guy that I was told, gym rat. They couldn't get him out of the gym this summer. Everybody, and we all do it. You get to the off season, you take your vacations, you spend some time. You just want to get away from the game. He never did. He just loves the game. He's one of these true guys that just wants the ball, and that's why there's a guy that you'd want to root for this year to say have your breakout season where you do reach that all-star status. If he does, that's got to mean good things for the Knicks.
No question about it. So to everybody in the chat, once again, hit the like button, hit the share button, subscribe to the channel. CP the Fanchise, the great Alan Hahn is with us. We got a couple super chats coming in here. Let's shout them out. And it is from the rhyme animal Chuck D, of course. Number 1 on the chat leaderboard. A $20 super chat that says, before many of your times, this annual Knick report with CP and Alan Hahn is like the crop report in the movie Trading Places. LOL, Murphy and Aykroyd. Let's go, Knicks Nation. This season reminds me of 1969. This team is hungry for it. Shout out to the rhyme animal Chuck D, man.
By the way, what you see behind me, you see the art behind me?
Yep.
That is done by the great Chuck D.
There it is. Absolutely,
Old Madison
man.
Square Garden. He did that. He painted that himself.
Yep.
Love it.
Ever the artist, man. Ever the artist. Chuck also drops a $10 super chat, says we should look at captain stats the same way we looked at Clyde's as a player. We never really looked at them. We just watched them.
Good call.
Drop the gems, man.
Yeah, exactly. And will his assists go? Like, we're so focused on numbers. And I can tell you, I don't think Brunson gives a damn.
Yeah.
The number that matters to him is wins. That's it. It's and it's 16 of them from April to June. That's it.
Yeah.
I promise you, the only stat that he will care about at the end of the day is 16 wins from April to June, and that's the goal. And so I don't think it matters to him. I'm curious about how fans react, because it is even when things are going well, it's always yeah, but like, don't do that this year.
Yeah.
Don't do that this year, because what Clyde always talks about, Chuck referred to those teams. What Clyde always talks about is the unselfishness of those teams that they had in the 70s, the early 70s, even the late 60s. And Clyde loved that team, and those guys were so connected and so loved by New York because it wasn't about the numbers. It was about the collective and how they all fed off each other. And it was an incredible symphony of basketball. And I'm telling you, that's what you want to see. That's what really moves people. And that's the kind of game that if you can get that, it's different. Because, like, the Thunder were a fun team, but they still had one guy that had the biggest. He's always putting up 30, right? He getting to the free throw line 15 times. Like, you want to see, can we get a team to win a championship that isn't about, like, the one guy, and instead is that symphonic connection where they all just feed off of each other? Because that's the true Knicks of the early 70s. And if that came back, you talk about falling in love with a team.
Yeah.
It'd be real easy.
And that's exactly what Mike Brown is trying to instill with this offense, and having these guys, running off of instincts rather than set plays, and building chemistry off of that. So let's see how they fare. But in speaking of Brunson and speaking of Bridges, one thing that Mike Brown talked about was having Mikal Bridges on different spots on the floor defensively, not just at the point of attack. He likes the way that he chases wing shooters and his off-ball defense as well. So when I think about that soundbite from Brown, I'm thinking, are we going to get a bit more of Deuce McBride in this rotation, more minutes with those guys, with Brunson, with Bridges, to handle more of the point of attack defense, but also be out there as a floor spacer, a good shooter? I think this could be a big season for Deuce McBride, man.
Another guy that showed up for camp as if he was ready for regular season right now, like looks in great shape. He really does not look like somebody that's trying to find his way, and that's a great sign. It shows you, too, the experience now that he has built up. He's no longer, the kid. He's no longer the young guy. He's a vet now, and he's learned a lot. And so I like what I saw, and I do think there are options there with him at the point of attack that allows Bridges. You heard Brown talk about what he like. Brown, when he talks, shows you how much research and how much prep he has done on this team. He knows his players. He knows so much about them. He must have watched a ton of film this summer when he got the job, which obviously is the smart thing to do. He talks about Bridges as sometimes he's really good point of attack, and sometimes he's better as a lock and trail guy. Sometimes he's better as somebody because he can get over his screen. He's got the length to recover. He's really good at, like in hockey, they call it the back check, where you can follow and defend from behind and still affect the player. So he knows him well enough to know he's got that. And I also think he's really good off the ball weak side, because just like OG, he's so smart at reading, and he can do like that free safety kind of like pick off the pass, like shoot the gap. So I think it's dependent on opponent and matchups. So the opposing team has a big guard. You might want to have either Bridges or Anunoby take them. You might have a team that really doesn't have a guard, like big guard play, And so they're going, like, I think, the Bucks will be all Giannis. Giannis is going to be the center of the universe, and they're going to try to get him to average a triple-double this year. And so with that in mind, you're not going to have Bridges guard him. So it'll be a little bit easier to play off the ball. So I do think it all depends on who you're playing against, what the matchups are, size-wise, and obviously everything else. You got a small, speedy guard. I think it's better off to either have Deuce or Bridges on them. So, this probably will be a situation-by-situation decision, which could also allow a guy like Bridges to show off different facets of his ability to defend, not just night in and night out, having to run through screens constantly, because opposing point guards, let's be honest, they're always using screens to start their offense point of attack.
Yeah, no question. And even for Deuce, he took a step back last year in terms of efficiency. I'm hoping that was more of the inconsistency due to injury and maybe that was just an outlier, and hopefully he gets back to being a bit more efficient. But so far, you have to like what you see in terms of the preseason. But when you look at that bench rotation, to me, especially at the guard spot, he's the most reliable right now. You don't know what you're going to get from Clarkson. It's, he puts the cardiac in cardiac
FGAs.
Right, yeah. Oh, yeah, you're going to get those shots, as he promised.
You're getting FGAs.
Not clear on the Brogdon situation, how he fits in the rotation. We could certainly talk about that. So when I look at those guys from a scoring standpoint and defensively, both sides of the ball, it's Deuce, man. He's got to come through this year.
Yep. And again, another guy is really good catch and shoot. And that's a big thing for Mike Brown. The catch and shoot three, the spray three, guys who have that ability to catch and shoot, feet balanced. And Deuce is very good at it. And we know he can get into a rhythm and he can get hot. And he could turn a game. We've seen him do it. So once again, it just shows you another player that sort of fits into the way he wants to play. I do think Brogdon is a really interesting piece here, though. Because he can handle the basketball. He's super smart. Another guy that can shoot a three, but he also, I think, is somebody that you're going to see with the ball times that might allow Deuce to play off the ball, that might allow Brunson to play off the ball. Like, I just think this roster has so many more options when it comes to lineups.
Yeah.
Like, you honestly can throw it. You remember Yahtzee, throw it in the cup, shake it up, and roll it out. I really think Mike Brown's going to – and you can see in the preseason he's already trying different combinations just to see which one works, like a mad scientist. It's kind of fascinating. I keep writing them down when I see one that I like. And there's a 5-man unit I've never seen before. Let me write this one down and see what they do. Like, that's, I think, one of the strengths of the team this year that has not been a strength in the past.
Big time.
Is a million different options depending on who you're playing.
And the thing is, we really haven't seen Josh Hart in the preseason yet.
Great point.
If you think about it.
7 minutes.
7 minutes.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm like, how does this work? Especially Brogdon. Where does his minutes come from? Do you shave off some of Clarkson minutes depending on if he's hot or not in the first half? Do you get more steady in the second half? Because again, like we haven't seen Hart. And if you're
playing 10, let's do it like this. Because if you're playing 10, because in the first preseason game, right away I was like, whoa, because Brown sent in Hart, McBride, and Clarkson. These three guys come in the game, and it was already like, whoa, it's just those three come in, and that's three totally different ways to play.
Yeah.
Because Hart's a guy another super high IQ player who's going to get a rebound, and you better run. If you're running, he's running with you. He's also one of these guys that if there's a turnover, he's down the floor. Like, he's such an athlete. That the game's just going to be sped up because he's the Tasmanian devil, man. Like, that's how he plays. And he'll get a million rebounds. So, and then Clarkson, is just a gunner. He's going for it. So if he gets the ball, to look for rebounds. And then Deuce can shoot the threes. Like, they all have this sort of ramp it up kind of feel to them when they come in the game. So if that's 3, that's now 8, right? Which leaves you 2 more if you go in 10-man rotation. Yabusele's got to be 1 because you got to rotate out the bigs, right? So that's 9. So who's your 10th? Who am I missing?
That's right.
Who do you got?
That's why I have a hard time seeing this through, man. I don't know.
Because it's like you got Shamet, you've got Brogdon, you've got like
I don't think it would be Shamet. I don't think it would be Shamet. Hey man, a lot of people want to see Gary Bird make this roster. He's not on there right now, but a lot of people want to see Garrison Matthews find a way on here.
That's great. He had a chance. You know what? He had a chance. And I'm joking when I say this.
Yeah.
I would have cut him just because there was overtime. Got to make that shot, man. We all got to sit for preseason overtime. No. You got to go.
Yeah,
I'm joking. I'm totally joking.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I know that talk about catch and shoot. I mean, he's phenomenal catch and shoot.
Yeah.
I swear I'm missing somebody, and I know somebody's screaming it probably at the screen right now. I gave you 9, and who am I missing? Because you got the starting 5.
Yeah. You have Mitch
and
in
that's
there.
not including Josh. Now you got Josh, Clarkson, Deuce. That's 8.
Yeah. Yabusele.
Yabusele's 9.
Yeah. So 10 is either Brogdon, Shamet.
So I'm not missing anyone. I don't know why I'm like racking my brains. Who else is?
I think that's it. I mean, to me, I don't know where they slide in Huck Porty. Does he go on the second night of back-to-backs with no Mitch? Does he get minutes at all? Maybe Huck Porty.
I think Huck Porty is more of a. I'm just looking at the box score.
Yeah.
Because I feel like I'm totally blanking, but no,
No, I
no,
think that's it. That's
yeah,
it.
yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's it. McBride, Yabusele, Clarkson, and then Shamet and Brogdon, and then Hart. So yeah, so that's your 10. So I do think it's also what does the opponent make you know what, I do think the 10th guy, and I do think he's going to play 10. Now that 10th guy might get 4 or 5 minutes,
Right.
but that's all right.
Right.
Because if you give him 4 or 5 minutes, if there's a game where, and we might be in the world of, I don't want to say load management, but I think we'll be in the world of managing minutes differently. I think we can all agree that's probably going to happen more
Yes.
than it used to with Tom Thibodeau. I do think if you have a guy that's playing 5 minutes regularly, to have a game where, okay, somebody's sitting out tonight, so we're going to ramp you up to 20 minutes. He'll be able to do it more than a guy that just doesn't play ever. And now it's like, we need you to play 20 minutes tonight. He's in no rhythm. So there'll be some of that. So I do think a 10th guy is valuable. And I do think a lot of that depends on foul trouble and also opponent.
Yeah.
I think that's also, do we need more size in this game? Do we need more fouls in this game? Do we need better defense? Do we need more shooting? So I love the way Shamet looks. He looked great towards the end of last season.
Yeah, he did.
You know he loves to be here. He's such a great teammate. He's another, I keep saying it, another high IQ, really smart player. You talk about a guy, CP, when you talk to him after a game, and it's not even, I'm not even talking about interviewing him. I mean, if he's just sitting at a stall and you just just shoot it with him a little bit about the game, or he talks like a coach. Very, very smart. So like another guy that you can rely on. And I've already told you what I think of Brogdon. I think if he stays healthy, he's such a valuable piece. So those are the types of guys that you're looking at off the bench. Is there enough size off the bench? With Yabusele at barely about 6'8". He plays big, but
Yeah.
he's still 6'8".
Well, to me, that's where Huck Porty comes in.
Yeah.
I think that's
Lot
where
to
Huck
learn.
Porty comes in.
Yeah. A lot of development there.
A lot of development there. Brown,
But
Brown
you
has
love
been
his
high on
energy.
him. Yeah.
Love his energy.
I
Phenomenal.
love his energy. Talks a lot, especially like you're just watching him up close at Summer League, man. Always talking, always communicating.
Which is great.
Yeah. He's got that little floater that he's working on. And, Mike Brown mentioned it. He was working on different fundamentals like his verticality, things of that nature to stay disciplined and stay in the game. I like his energy. And like I said, I don't want Mitch playing second night of a back-to-back. He comes in, he puts in a game's worth of work in half of a quarter. That's good for us for tonight, man. Move on to the next. We need him for April and beyond, man.
I agree. Yeah.
Looks good.
If there's any player that Knicks fans want to wrap in bubble wrap, it's got to be Mitch. After watching him, especially the second quarter of the first preseason game, he had 12 rebounds in 9 minutes. Like you're watching him just absolutely dominate. Now I know he's going up against Adem Bona, but it doesn't matter. It's like just to see his physical effort, his ability to read the ball, his feet look so good. Everything he's doing right now, he jumps off the page, and it just keeps telling you, like, boy, if this guy can stay healthy, not only can he be like a dominant big man in the NBA, but in a playoff series, he's incredibly valuable. So, yeah, if there's anybody you wrap in bubble wrap, it's got to be Mitch. So I'm with you on that kind of concern and back-to-backs and everything else.
For sure. Yabusele is an interesting one, man. He's still trying to find his way. But to me, a guy who, because of his three-point ability, I think they need people out there that can set him up. And, he's got to get used to playing with a lot of guys who need the ball as well. And so he's got to be efficient with his shots. But I think we got to be able to tap into his pick and pop potential, pick and roll potential, and that where a Brogdon comes into play, where a Clarkson and maybe a Deuce may have the blinders on, where they're more focused on getting their shots. They got to be able to figure out a lineup that can get Yabusele going as well.
Yeah, it's a great point. Another spray three guy, right? Because he can shoot it, and so he will go to spots. He's smart enough to do that. But I love his physicality. I think you'll see him mix it up, which is important too. But that's a good observation you made, because that is a frustration. If you're a guy that, look, I'm a team guy, I'll set screens, I'll do whatever it takes, but a couple of times you got to let me touch the ball, and you are playing with guys that are more like just straight scorers. you have to just make sure you're getting some type of production out of that position. So who's on the floor that is aware, the awareness factor, right? Of knowing, okay, my guy hasn't had a shot in a couple of, like, I got to get him a shot, right? I got to get him the ball. And I think that's important. And a guy like Brogdon is one of those guys that has that awareness of, okay, I got to get my guy the ball here. He hasn't had it in a while. It's like I say that about a quarterback too. It's if you have a wide receiver who's an elite wide receiver and he hasn't had a target in, like through 2 series, and you're in the third quarter and you realize I haven't targeted him since the early first quarter. Like, as a quarterback, you don't need to be told that. You should just know.
No.
Like, I got to find my guy. Right? It's the same thing, I think, on the floor with a player that you know is a high-effort player. Is there a time? That's what Chris Paul was so good at this with those Clipper teams. Because he knew, like, DeAndre Jordan was never going to post up. Like, he's not going to do any moves on the post, right? But he sets hard screens. He blocks shots like crazy. He ran the floor hard. And Chris Paul every now and then would just know, all right, Blake, take this one off. We're going to run a high screen roll, and I'm throwing one up for Lob City. Because he just needs to feel good.
Yeah.
I got to just reward the big man, the cliche. I do think having players like that on the floor with your effort guys. Mitchell Robinson, same thing.
Same thing.
Like, I got to feed these guys and make sure they feel like they're part of it. So they're diving and blocking shots and setting screens. Don't get lost. They know we appreciate it.
Yeah, you got to feed Mitch, man. As he's always said, he doesn't want to be out there just running cardio and doing all the dirty work. You got to feed the big man, throw him a couple Gotham lobs, get him involved. So him and Yabusele, those guys, you've got to get those guys activated. So it's going to be interesting to see, which direction the Knicks go in there. But I just like the addition of especially like Yabusele to that bench. Nothing against Precious. He just adds a lot more offense, and his transition numbers are really good. Like, when we talk about guys getting out and running and being efficient with their shots, Yabusele was one of the best players in transition last year.
He doesn't look like it, right?
Doesn't look like it.
I saw him, I remember last season, and I just thought to myself, like, this guy, like, if you told me he played in the NFL, I'd believe you. Because he just looks more like a guy that could have been a defensive end. Because he just has that kind of, like, he's got the height, the arm length, which you love having a defensive ends with the wingspan, and he's got the strong lower body. I would think this guy played in the NFL. But when you watch him and you see him move around, somebody said dancing bear, and I love that because it's kind of funny.
Yeah.
But he can move. And I watched him because I was right on the court where my spot is for last night's game, and it's getting physical down there, and the Timberwolves have some big dudes. And he's not afraid. He'll get in there, mix it up, throw an elbow. He'll get physical. He doesn't shy away from it. And there's a little bit of moxie that I remember a lot of fans felt last year's team compared to the one 2 years ago that had Isaiah, had Dante. There were fans who felt like last year's team was missing that little bit of grit of somebody that wasn't afraid to just kind of get dirty for a minute and let the other team know that I might make a mistake and just forearm you in the face. My bad. That gets some teams to second guess, whereas teams that don't do that, you're going to have a little more confidence going into the paint. I think Yabusele has a little more of that kind of, edge to him and physicality to him that they were missing last year.
CP the Fanchise, Alan Hahn on the ones and twos for the annual 2025-26 Knicks season preview. I want to take a quick time out to shout out one of our sponsors of today's show. You guys know it. Welcome back to our friends at Manscaped, the #1 men's grooming tool, both above and below the waist. Our friends at Manscaped are back with us. This might be year number 5, supporting the #1 show for the fans, by the fans. You guys know the deal, man. I just arrived just this morning, the brand new Lawnmower 5.0. I didn't even use this yet, so as you guys can see, it's very clean. Skin-safe technology here on the blade. You got an LED light. Hey, you can do it in the shower, whatever you're into. Great battery life, as you hear it, man. This sounds like a Ferrari motor in here, man. So you can really get close-knit there and do what you need to do, fellas. So make sure you check them out, manscaped.com. Use our code KFTV for 15% off plus free shipping. And as I said, this is the Lawnmower 5.0, but they have a ton of products for today's man, so no reason to get caught out there lacking, fellas. Go to manscaped.com, use our code KFTV, and they will take care of you, man. 15% off plus free shipping. And no testimonials, man. Just go out there and go get it. Shout out to Omar Diaz in the chat. Okay. All right, let's get to some calls if you guys want to talk to Solo, man. The Knicks Fix on the Discord. Knicks Fix, are you there? Go ahead and unmute your mic.
CP, Alan Hahn Solo. What up, guys?
How you doing, man?
What's happening?
Oh, man. CP, thank you so much for giving me this chance to talk to the legend, man.
Sure.
Alan, what's going on this morning, man?
All good right now. Preseason,
Yeah.
Everything's good.
Yeah, man. I just wanted to say, man, like I've been following you for years, man. Like I'm just proud of like the come up that you've had from working from sideline reporter all the way up now to working in the studio, man. And the one thing I respect about you, man, is that you call it like it is, right? So for years, like in the 17-win seasons, you would just call it like it is and say where we need to, you point out where we need to get better. I know yesterday one of my boys texted me. He was like, "Yo, did you listen to Hahn talk about the Yankees?" And I listened to your pod last night after I got home from work, and I was like, "Yo, you called it like it is." You're like, there needs to be a philosophical, cultural change because you saw it through the lens of the Knicks, right? Where Leon Rose came in, took these draft picks, kept flipping up, made $1 out of every 5 cents, and just philosophically the whole culture changed. So I just wanted to give you props on that because like that's something that doesn't it goes. Not a lot of media guys talk about it, but guys like you and CP will shout it out,
I appreciate that. It's funny because the difference, of course, is like when Phil Jackson came in and was trying to institute the triangle, and players it just wasn't something that fit the players, right? And there was a lot of frustration going on, and then his decisions at draft and stuff, and it just was, you could just see that fans generally always look straight at the players and they blame players because they always say, well, the players just need to be better. And then there are times where you say, well, sometimes it's not the players. If you keep changing out the players and you get the same results, you realize it's not the players, it's the system, right? And you need to change it. And I always believe that successful franchises, it starts at the top. They aren't done by accident. You get the right leadership in and you let them lead, and then they know what they're doing. And as I've said, players, it doesn't take long for them to know a phony from a real one. It doesn't take long at all. And the coach that comes in and the GMs that come in, and you could tell that they've got a plan and they know what they want, players will follow it. Because if you're confident in your plan and there are no holes in it, all right, let's try it. Let's do it. And so I think when you get to Leon Rose and he comes in, a guy with no experience running an organization, but knows basketball as better than anybody because he was a power agent. He knew the players, he knew success because he had players playing at high levels and having great success. So he knew what worked. And he was smart enough to know, just do what works. You're not reinventing the wheel. The Yankees, the difference with the Yankees, not to get on a tangent on the Yankees though, but the difference is that every year they have a winning record. 8 out of the last 9 years, they've made the playoffs. So how do you criticize a franchise that does nothing but make the playoffs and have winning seasons? Because once you've established that as your standard, the expectation is how do you take it to the next step?
Level.
It's the reason why Tom Thibodeau's not the coach anymore. Back-to-back 50-win seasons. But each year, what was happening? It was ending the same way. And so there was, okay, now that we have our standard, we need to take it up a notch. And that's the same thing to me personally with the Yankees, is you've reached a point where we know that's the standard. But how come every season ends with another team just knows how to shut down an offense that analytically all season long is the best in the league? How can you not figure that out? Well, if you can't figure it out, we need to get somebody who can. And that's all I said about the Yankee situation. But it is because I probably have seen it over the years with the Knicks. And it's very easy to recognize when you've seen it enough.
So now the question becomes, because I struggle with this, and we heard about the news and the rumors that dropped this week. The question becomes, if they fall short this season, do they pivot to the Giannis move? I hate to think about it.
What would you do? Well, what would you do?
I like to keep this team as is.
So if,
I do.
But
I would say, yeah, go ahead. Finish what you're saying.
I was going to say it because without knowing how this ends.
That right.
And
I think
I'm on record. This is the most confident and this is the most anticipation I've had for a Knicks season since I've covered the team. And I have a firm belief in what they're doing and the players they have. But if you keep running into the wall, eventually it becomes, okay, how do you get past this? What is the reason why they're not getting past it? And when there's a player of that caliber available and he wants to go to your team, it's the reason why reportedly, there was a conversation in August. Because when a player of that caliber, he's an MVP candidate. Think about this. He was a finalist for MVP, I think, in 7 straight years. Think about this.
Yeah.
Like, he won it, I think, twice, but he's been a finalist in every single year. So this is one of the best players in the league, and he wants to play for you. It's incumbent on you to at least find out, okay, what's it going to take? Now, there's a price that's always too high.
Right.
We know this. But if you go another year and it's a disappointing ending, you got to say, all right, now what do we do? I'm with you. I want to believe this story ends because I think the Jalen Brunson story is one of the great New York stories ever. To a guy that, came from almost nowhere, that no one really knew what he was going to be, mocked when they signed him, and what he's turned into, which is literally what this franchise has needed since Patrick Ewing left. A guy like that. So I don't want that story to end. So how do we make sure that, just like Aaron Judge wins a World Series, how do we make sure Jalen Brunson's story ends with a championship? By upgrading as much talent with him as you possibly can. Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's the only reason why I think you can't dismiss something like that quickly. But I'm also not believing in, just panic and go all in. I believe like what they've got this year deserves an entire season together to see if they can get it done.
Definitely does. And as you said, it would depend on how the season ends. Is it an injury-plagued season where they just sputter just based on not having guys available and having guys healthy, or was
the unknown?
Or was it going in with a full deck and getting escorted out by like the Hawks or somebody and falling well short of expectations and things just falling off a cliff? But it's hard, man, because yes, this is a generational Hall of Fame player, but I have so many questions and concerns with the potential acquisition of him in terms of, if you're going to tell me that you're going to have to deplete your roster of 2 quality starters to bring him in, how much closer are you?
That's why perfect. It's what you just said again, is that shows your experience in this. That's literally why you ask. You look into it. Because there does come a time where you just understand, no. That's too much. It sets you back instead of advances. I always use the phrase, advance the cause.
Advance the cause.
If it doesn't advance the cause, then you just don't do it. That's why it has to make sense. And which is why Damian Lillard going to Milwaukee, while on paper everybody got excited about it, it didn't advance the cause. They didn't get better. They just added another superstar. But losing Jrue Holiday, breaking up the team the way they did, it took away what made them great.
Right.
That's the danger about making moves like that. Again, what Phoenix did. I mean, that was a finals team, and then 2 years later they were disaster. So there are things you have to consider, and cost is one of them. And is the ability. So a deal like that without blowing your team up means I got to bring in like at least 2 other teams. Now it becomes a super complicated deal involving 10 to 12 players and draft picks and ways that you can move things around without it taking away from the talent and the depth that you have right now. And so that's why you always weigh the end game of, does it take us closer to a championship, or does it just add a megastar to a team now that 2 guys have to carry us because we don't have enough talent to put around them? Then it's not worth it. So I always say, I'll listen, I pay attention, I watch, but if I can't make that deal to where it makes sense, you don't do it. Earl the Pearl coming to the Knicks, DeBusschere. Those moves didn't deplete the team. It made it better. They were able to move, like the DeBusschere trade. You move Bellamy, who was a superstar. But what did it do? It allowed Willis to go to his natural position, and you moved Clyde from the bench to the starting point guard spot, which he was already pushing for at that point. It was a perfect situation. It worked. It didn't blow the team up. Same thing with Pearl. So I think those are the things that it has to. If it doesn't fit that equation, then you have to say no. As hard as it is to say no, even if he ends up going somewhere else, as hard as it is to say no, it has to make sense for you in advancing the cause.
Let's go back to the Discord. Soup 5142. Soup, go ahead and unmute your mic.
Hey CP, hey Alan, how are you?
Good, man. How you doing, man?
Good.
First time caller, long time listener. Alan, I've been listening to you for years. I go back to the Mike and the Mad Dog days in the 90s with the Yankees. But great to be on the show. When Leon's done a fantastic job building this roster. When I look at it, and I think this is the year. I'm hoping this is the year. The two questions that I have are backup point guard and wing depth. Right, we don't have that uber athletic wing on the roster. I'm intrigued by this guy Tosan that they got from the Nets last year. Yeah, I think he's got at least some potential in case OG goes down with an injury. But I think Brogdon is a need for the roster. I think Shamet's a luxury with all the depth that we have at the two-guard position. Like, we got to find a spot for Brogdon. And, if we're going to add anybody else to the roster, I do think it's that wing depth in case OG or somebody were to get hurt.
Hahn, your thoughts, man?
Well, I think they have really good depth at wing, actually.
Think so?
Like, it's so many interchangeable parts at that position. You got to mention Josh Hart. He's considered a wing.
Right.
So there's him. Bridges is considered a wing. I know, if you want to say he plays the two, but 1 through 4 in today's NBA are pretty much interchangeable. I mean, your one when you have the traditional point guard, but 2, 3, 4, it all moves around. I do think that they have really good depth there. Now, I know there's, again, the concern of an injury that can set you back, which, that does happen.
And if they trade Dadier, they might trade Dadier.
Well, if you're going to keep both Brogdon and Shem, Shamet's a wing too, by the way. So if you're going to keep both, smart veteran players who can really help as a peripheral kind of thing versus a young player young players need to play. Young players aren't guys you just plug in and randomly play. Vets know how to just stay ready so that when they're called upon, they can just give you the minutes that you need. So yeah, I don't know how far down the roster they're going to go, but I don't think there's great concern about wing depth, in my opinion.
I see it as an issue because if they do trade Dadier, number one, I don't like them leaving the bench without some sort of prospect that you're trying to develop over the years, just as a backup plan.
Isn't that Tyler Kolek though?
I think he's
right?
Gone. I don't think
he's gone too.
I would rather trade Kolek than Dadier. For sure.
Yeah.
I'd rather trade Kolek than Dadier. Even though I haven't seen much from Dadier to be impressed. He's still very young. He's 19.
He's very young. Yeah, it's a lot for him to develop and learn. It's really hard to do that.
Yeah.
On in a franchise like this where you're just not going to play. He'd have to spend so much time in the G League just to play. Yeah. He's got to play.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably where you're going to see your development is from the G League team with the two-way guys. Those are the names you'll see probably. The two-way guys are the ones that, have to be part of your development. And we've seen teams do the Celtics do it very well. We've seen other teams where a two-way player suddenly starts to become, emerges because their development's so good that they start to emerge as pieces that can help, especially if there is an injury. So that could be the place where you see the guys that I know fans fall in love with, the young developmental guy. Because on a team like this, those guys are never getting in the game.
Yeah.
They're just not. It's just it's not available to them because this is a veteran team with higher aspirations.
What have you made of the investments in building out that player development core? They just added another coach just yesterday, along with Billy Lang, who came from St. Joe's.
St. Joe's, yeah. You could tell that's definitely a point of emphasis for the franchise is developing young players, making sure that their G League team is churning out talent and taking even some guys that especially the two-way guys. And seeing, can we get somebody ready? The Thunder are very good at it. I'm mentioning different teams that we've seen two-way players suddenly step in and start to become contributors. And, that's also a way to make sure your season doesn't get derailed, is that if in January you lose a piece or two and need someone to give you 10 minutes a game off the bench because you just need the depth, well, that's why you have those two-way players. You develop them, you let them play a lot in the G, and then when you just have that space or a week where we need some bodies, you have them come in and you feel good about their ability to step in and play the role that you need them to play because they've been developed properly. So I think it's look, every team should be investing in development, but in New York, when you have all the resources you have and your G League team is literally in the same practice facility, it's in the same building. It really is something that you should be investing in to make sure there are no holes. There is no excuse of, well, we had 3 injuries to 3 of our rotation players and we just couldn't survive it. No, you get these guys ready to just give you a solid 10, 15 minutes to fill that void until the players that are injured gets back, and then your season doesn't get derailed.
Yeah, according to Michael Stato of Hoops Hype, Knicks added Mark Tyndale as an assistant coach for play development. Tyndale was previously an assistant coach with the Blazers under Chauncey Billups, play development coach with the Raptors under Nick Nurse. So Mark Tyndale being added to the coaching
Another
staff.
good G League. Toronto had very good G League prospects. They've built up a couple of players off that 905 team.
905.
So that's another team that definitely puts a lot of emphasis on player development when it comes to young guys.
Femi from BK. Femi on the Discord. Go ahead and unmute your mic.
Yo, can you hear me?
Loud and clear. How you doing, man?
I'm doing great. Shout out CP. Shout out Alan Hahn. How you guys doing this morning?
Good, man. Good to hear from you.
Good.
Great. Thank you so much, CP, for putting on this show. It's the #1 show for the fans, by the fans. And thank you, Alan, for joining every year. I just got 2 quick questions. So, Alan, I don't know if you saw recently, but Brunson was asked his favorite moment as a Knick. And he referenced that night where he was named an All-Star, where you asked him that question. His eyes tear up. So, CP is the conductor for us Knicks fans, but I'm just curious, how you reflect on being part of moments like that and that go down in history as being part of that team as MSG. So we're really grateful to everybody on that team. You guys do a great job, and I'm curious about that. And then similar to that question, part 2 is, as all of us who want to watch MSG and watch you guys on our screens, how do you remark on the streaming wars that go on? With the Peacock going on now, there's my HBO Max is useless now because TNT isn't there. So I'm just curious, how do you remark on just the streaming wars, where we're going, and just that generally? And thank you for taking our questions.
Good questions.
Those are very good questions. I'll get to the second one in a minute. The first one, I did see him say that, and I've often been asked, what's one of the most memorable moments in your career? That's number one. Quick side note to that night is I was filling in. I wasn't the sideline reporter, but they said to me, I think Rebecca was sick that night, and so she couldn't come in, and they needed somebody to do it, and so they just said, we need you to do sideline. This is literally an hour before the game. So I'd never done sideline like that before, so okay. So it just so happened all those things, were going on that night where Jalen was named All-Star, and then he had a terrific finish to that game. I believe they played the Pacers that night.
I think so.
And then so that was one of those just, ask the question and just get the hell out of the way. Let him have the moment. And the crowd was so good. They knew. That's what I love about being in New York. The crowd, you don't have to tell these people anything.
That's right.
They knew already that he was named All-Star. He just had a great ending. The love for him had just continued to crescendo because you were realizing we got one here. This guy's special. And so you could hear the crowd excited, buzzing, chanting MVP and all that stuff. And so when I asked him the question and the crowd just started to roar with the question, and then he couldn't answer it, that's one of those where you just let it breathe,
Natural moment.
And my one regret, it sounds kind of petty, but there was a friend of mine in the business who right after, I got a lot of texts, and somebody said, you're winning an Emmy for that. And I said to myself, if I do, I wish I could find the text because I texted, if I do, I'm handing it to him because that's all him. That's not me. And so now I'm paying attention, all right, let me see if this gets nominated. And it didn't even get nominated. So
wow.
I'm really disappointed about that.
Yeah.
And when I watch it back, I get pissed at myself, because I get mad that I wasn't smooth.
You didn't think it was smooth?
I did not know. I did not think I was smooth. I think that you could tell. I think I got stuck on a word one time, and just it didn't. It wasn't as like Al Troutwig does that. It wins an Emmy. It might even win it might win a Grammy. like Al Troutwig does that, and it's like they make a movie out of that, right?
Yeah.
But I felt like I probably ruined it, and then that's why it didn't win an Emmy. So, but I would have. I swear, I would have. If I had gotten that trophy, I would have given it to Jalen and said, "Put that on your mantle because that's all you." But
That's honorable, Alan. I gotta disagree with you on that part. You did perfect. You guys really deserve the Emmy entirely. Like
apparently not. It didn't even get nominated. It didn't even get nominated. Come on.
To quote Cat, this is what movies is made of. You're making movies, so I gotta give you props on that one. Go ahead.
I appreciate it, but anyway, as far as streaming goes, it's like so I'm a big football fan, and it makes me crazy. Like last night, I was a little busy. But still, like, that's Amazon. Okay, fine. And then it's, you're watching this on
Apple TV, Yankees on Friday night.
Well, the Yankee thing drives me crazy. Apple here, then Amazon here. And I've always said the one thing they haven't figured out yet with streaming services, we know it's the future. We know where it's going. I know a lot of people watch the Knicks on the Gotham app. I think they have to figure out a way to have a smoother transition from one app to another because the world is used to, and I do this, especially we're right now in this is the sports nirvana. Last night, all 4 majors played. Now, I know the Knicks were a preseason game, but everybody played last night. All the hockey teams played, the Knicks played, the Giants played, right? We had baseball playoffs. Everything was going on. And what we're so used to doing is hit that last channel button.
Yeah, we need cable. It's going back to cable.
Right? Like the last channel button is your best friend.
Right.
Because you just know, like, if this game's not really going well, I want to check in on this game. You just want to pop around. But if I have to now exit out, go to this app, go back to where the game is, then bring that game up, then wait for it to load, then it opens. It's too complicated.
Too complicated.
If they can figure out a way, and by the way, don't tell me, oh, yeah, you can do this thing where all 4 are on the same screen and you just highlight. No, I want the whole screen.
Nah.
I don't want I don't want the constellation of apps and then just opening one at a time. Give me the ability to be able to just pop from one to the other, like on your Mac. When I got 3 windows open and all I got to do is just move them around.
Yeah.
Let me do that instead of having to go in and out of every freaking app. Then I think it'll work. They have to figure that out. They haven't done it yet.
1,000%. The transition between platforms, between games, you might as well just bring cable back. It's the worst, man. It's the worst. And it's every single night, different platform. It's Peacock. It's this, is that. I have all them because I need it, but it's not smooth.
But navigating is the hardest part. And old people like me like to sit in our easy chair and lay back with the beer and just sit there with the clicker, like the old men used to say, and just click to the next, click. That's what you want. And instead, like my big fat fingers have to figure out a way to go back and get in here and fight. Oh my God. And God forbid, one of the logins logged me out.
That's right.
And now I got to remember to log in. Oh my God. Stephanie, what's the login for this now? It just makes me crazy.
We got to go back to the Discord. Your old friend is back. Let's hear what he's got to say, man. Ari from Manhattan, ladies and gentlemen. Ari, are you there? Unmute your mic on the Discord. Ari.
It's a tradition unlike any other,
That's right?
Salute to you, CP, the Brentwood aristocrat. Salute to you. I heard Hahn say, some fans always point at the negative, so I had to call in. It's like the bat signal, you know what I mean? So, here I am. But no, real talk, the last time we had that little scuffle, I was saying that the Knicks play the optics game always. And then you said that they didn't do the optics game while simultaneously defining optics. But either way, I'm very proud of Leon Rose because it's not optically good to fire a coach after he takes you as far as he's done. And it just goes to show you that Leon Rose is in the business of championships, not mediocrity, not getting to the playoffs, not MSG revenue. It would have been easy for him to keep Tibbs. Thank God he got rid of Tibbs. We've drained the swamp. No Randall, no Tibbs. We got Brunson. We got Cat. I like the signings we made. I think Jordan Clarkson's going to be big for this team because if you ask me, I think we have decent wing depth. I think the biggest issue that we have from a roster standpoint is shot creation. I know you guys think Mickey 5 picks could create shots. I'm not sold on that yet, but I know Jordan Clarkson can. I know he doesn't have necessarily the best kind of shot selection. But when the playoffs come, it's all about making Jalen Brunson's life easier. Last year, it was too easy to guard. You knew it was going to be Brunson pick and roll. He was dribbling the ball, crazy time of possession. So I want to see Mike Brown get Jalen Brunson more shots off ball, which means that someone like Mickey 5 picks or, Jordan Clarkson got to be on ball, or Brogdon or whoever, and get him some easy shots. But my question to you, Hahn, is, obviously I agree with your Mitch take. I don't see why we even starting this guy. Like, just like bubble wrap. Like, he was so good in the playoffs last year. The biggest concern for me is health this year, because it's finals. I mean, it's championship or bust. We should make the finals. I'm very bullish on the team. I think this is the year, honestly, because of the roster and, getting rid of Tibbs, and then, you have the, Tatum's out and all that stuff. But besides health, my question to you, Hahn, is what do you think the biggest concern for the Knicks is? And I guess I appreciate the time, man. Salute.
Well, all right. So before I get to the concern thing, I want to point out, because I have to, because I'm petty, Leon Rose and the whole idea of optics, I've never seen him operate that way, because you can even go before the tough decision to move on from a coach that won back-to-back 50-win seasons for the first time in 30 years and make that decision, which is tough. Oh, by the way, somebody you've known, most of your life, that you're close to, that you had to break his heart and take the job that he loves away. He did that because he knew it was time. He believed it was time, and he was smart about it, because it is a business. But I also go back previously to when he spent $72 million on Evan Fournier. And after a full season of it, they don't make the playoffs. And then you go into the next season, and they still don't look good. And it just doesn't look right. And Tom Thibodeau is like, I got to do it my way. So the $72 million guy is going on the bench, and he's getting nailed to it, and I'm never bringing him off again. Now, some GMs, some presidents with an ego would be embarrassed by that and say, no, you make it work. I didn't give that guy all that money for another. You're going to make me look bad for signing him. But Leon Rose didn't do that. You let him do it. You're the coach. You make the decisions. It's not about salary. It's about what fits best. And they took off from there, right? So that's what I really appreciate the most about how Leon Rose has run this organization. He has never run the organization with the ego of, how does it look for me? Because how many other teams do you see that? With a GM and coach, they butt heads because the GM insists you're supposed to do it my way. This is what I did. And they can't get along because they disagree. There are always going to be disagreements, but it doesn't mean that you let the disagreement get in the way of winning. And you let the coach do, all right, you go ahead and do it, but you better win. And they did win. So that's important. And if you have a leader at the very top who acts that way, how does everyone else not also act that way? So that's why the optics thing was never a true thing when it comes to Leon Rose and this organization since he's taken it over. Injury-wise is always a concern no matter who you are. Every team has it. That's why, again, for the Celtics, for the Pacers, major issues, right? And then if you're the Cavaliers, it's always going to be an issue for you because Garland's a guy that gets hurt a lot. Mobley does get hurt. Like, they also have that same concern. For the Knicks, if you're asking me beyond the obvious, which is every team's worried about injuries, I think the only thing I wonder about is if they're big enough. Do they have enough 7-footers? That's all. Like, especially if you're playing Robinson and Towns together to start a game, which I love the look of it. And Yabusele is your big that mixes in. He's smaller. There are teams in this league that have a ton of length and a lot of size. And that you always wonder, is the team big enough? That's all. That's really it. I think they have good shooters that will all make shots when they're, open for kickouts. I don't think that's a problem. I think they have guys that get after it. I think they have smart, high IQ players. The one element that just makes me wonder is, will there be a point this season where you ask yourself, they just weren't big enough? That's basically it.
And there it is, which leads me to my final question for you. Just watching the time, knowing you got a packed day, and speaking along the lines of health, especially from what Ari was saying. This was ESPN's projected win total. Kevin Pelton While ESPN Bet has the Knicks at 53.5 wins, I have the Knicks at 53. They won 51 last year. Kevin Pelton's projection is 47.2. His reasoning is that they outperformed last season's win projection by 5.5 games, benefiting from strong in-season health. Among the starting five, only Jalen Brunson missed as many as 9 games due to injury or illness. This might be difficult to replicate. Kevin Pelton is also counting on fewer minutes for the Knicks' top players, with Mike Brown replacing Tibbs as coach. I'd expect New York to finish somewhere between these two marks, ending around 50 wins. To that, you say what?
Well, again, Kevin, usually it's all analytical, so
Yes.
it's all projections and stuff. So it's all based on that. And usually those numbers always skew low. You know, you never see a projection of 60 wins for even the greatest team. It just doesn't happen. I'm with you. I do also believe north of 50 is the most likely that's going to happen. But I will allow one thing that he said there, not necessarily about the minutes. The starters, obviously, I don't think the starters are going to lead the league in minutes like they did last year. But I do think I don't want to say load management, but I do think we're going to see some games that aren't a punt, but are schedule like, okay, we know what's coming up here. The example I'll give is I remember going to San Antonio during the season. It was later in the season. I called the game in San Antonio. They were already, I think, that was like this crazy like that Bulls Thunder back-to-back was nuts.
Mm-hmm.
Right after New Year's. And they were exhausted because the Bulls game, you remember, was that crazy Derrick Rose night, and the second half got away from them, but they played it all the way to the end. It was a real fight. And then the next night they had to play the Thunder. And that, I was courtside with Mike Breen, which is probably one of the greatest experiences you'll ever have because it was such a great game. And, you know, again, it's just Mike Breen, who's just the best ever. And, it was such a good game. I remember saying to Mike, I'll take 7 of these. Because that meant the NBA final. It was so good. Now, they end up at the end, it got away from they lost it.
Yeah.
But the reason why that loss hurt was because I saw how tired they were. And we're in the middle of the season, and there was no breaks coming. And so it was like, this is going to start catching up to them. So I fast forward to that Spurs game where they had nothing in the tank. You could see it. The Spurs had guys injured. It was such a young team, but they just played such a spirited performance. And the Knicks couldn't figure it out. Who was the kid that made like 1 million threes? Mamos.
Mamos really. Yeah, he went to the Raptors. Sweet.
Remember I said, Mamo, there goes that man?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, that was just one of those crazy. So you lose that game, fly to Charlotte, and the next night play, that's an insane trip. You go from San Antonio to Charlotte. I flew with the team. We got in about 3 o'clock in the morning to the hotel. Just getting in to the hotel by 3. And then they played that night. I then flew home and did the game in the studio, the pre and post. And you just saw how flat they were in that they had nothing. That's a game where I imagine the schedule tells you, all right, this is a night that you don't play Brunson, you don't play Towns. You kind of push some of your and you've seen other teams do it where they'll just it's not a punt, but it's sort of we got to be smart because we don't want this game to drain the battery to a point where we're constantly chasing now, getting the battery back to 100. And so with that in mind, if you're doing that more than what Tom Thibodeau believed in, which was I'm winning every game I can, I'm worried about tonight.
Right.
It's a different philosophy. So that could, in the end, cost you a couple of wins. But the argument the other way, though, not to get too long-winded on this, is that could also gain you wins if you're not as fatigued or tired on other nights where you can finish it out. So that remains to be seen. But those projections always skew lower. No one should take it personal. And I firmly believe in under-promise and over-deliver. So I'll take it.
Yeah. I have him at 53. A lot of fans are like, man, we're going to win 60 games. I'm still going to factor in the adjustment period to the new system.
Yep.
And just as you said, Mike Brown is here in some respects to kind of be the anti-Tibbs in terms of how he's using this rotation, how he's using the starters to make sure that they get to April healthy, which means getting more of the depth, more of the rotation in which he's got better pieces to deal with. Let's be honest. Tibbs' bench was not all that good. You know, a lot of people want to say, oh, he didn't play them. He didn't play the bench. He didn't know what he had.
But he didn't have this.
He didn't have this. He didn't have this. And half those guys last year are not even here. So that should tell you what those guys were. No offense to those guys. But I do think Brown will be utilizing these guys a bit more. But it's going to be interesting to see if losses kind of stack, if you know, they're still getting adjusted and he's not really playing the starters that much. How much pressure will Brown be on? Because, you know, it's optics, Hahn, right? Mm-hmm. Like, yeah, they can finish, you know, they can get into the playoffs and get hot, get to the finals, whatever. But if they finish the regular season as a 3-seeded team or on track for that, optics, the dialogue, what's going on with this team, you know, those two dynamics is going to be interesting.
Remember the first 20 games was always that way to gauge, like, all right, what's the team look like? Yeah. And, you know, even Tibbs was big about the first 20 games because he would tinker, and then by the 20th game, he's like, all right, this is my rotation. This is who I trust, and this is who I don't trust. Like, he gets there real fast. Like, by 20th game, if he's a guy he doesn't trust, if you're a guy he doesn't trust, you don't play. And you can see it. You see that line of demarcation on the bench to a point where if he only trusts 7, I'm only playing 7. And so that's what he would do. That's what I was always watching there. This year, because it's a new way to play, and there's a lot of things that are different than what they've been used to in the past, I'm wondering, you know, if it does have a couple of, you know, you have a couple of stinkers, you're just not where you need to be. Look, and you see their schedule. The NBA wants to get those good matchups right away.
Right away.
You're seeing good opponents right away.
Yeah.
That's why I just don't want people to start panicking.
Nah.
When again, I'm just 8-8 in the first 16, and it's only a 500. You know, everybody wants 15-1.
Yeah,
of course you do, but that doesn't often happen. So you cannot overreact to whatever happens at the beginning if it's not going well, and that's the one thing to watch though is if you do have a slow start because of the new coach and new system. Are you now, like you said, chasing the standings? Cavs last year surprised everybody with the way they started, and that set them up.
Yeah.
That start really then they coasted the rest of the way because they ended up playing like a good level but not a great level after that ridiculous start. But it made life easy for them because they already bought themselves all that time. Mm-hmm. When you're chasing, it's a lot harder. And that's something that, you know, you want to watch. But I wouldn't overreact. This is too talented of a team. It's too smart of a team. And it's got depth that it hasn't had in the past. All the elements are there to be good. And don't forget, in 99, that team was a mess for most of the season because they couldn't figure it out. It was a lockout-shortened season. I think they made the playoffs in like the second to last game, if I'm not mistaken. Mm-hmm. They just got in. But everybody knew that was a really good team, that once they figured it out, they were dangerous. And that's one thing I would watch about this team is I would not overreact if it's a slow start.
He does have Orlando projected ahead of them. Are they the non-Cavs team that you have your eye on? They usually play the Knicks tough. They play them very physical. That's the Mosley staple. Adding Desmond Bane, a healthy Paolo, a healthy Franz, knock on wood. Is Orlando the team you're looking at?
Yeah, I always look at Orlando as that team that's that one that no one wants to talk about, but you need to talk about because especially Banchero, he's a handful, man. He's so good. And adding an outside shooter, which was their biggest weakness, they just couldn't shoot that well as a team. They have toughness. Suggs is so tough. I think that's definitely a team I'd worry about. And you know, Detroit, man, they're taking it personal. You know, they'll tell everybody that, you know, like I got to spend some time with Bickerstaff. He did some stuff with us at ESPN, and we were on the studio set together a lot. And I'm a big fan of his. He's a great dude. But he'll tell you too. It's like, you know, we're 1 or 2 shots, and you know, we might have won that series. They believe that, so they got a bit of a mission going on too. And Cunningham's really he's ready to take that step now into superstardom. So those are 2 teams that are younger teams that no one wants to talk about, but you might be talking about before it's said and done. Indiana's not going to go anywhere, even though they don't have Halliburton. They're going to play hard. They're going to play smart. You know, and Boston's always going to be Boston. The same thing. Don't take it lightly just yet. But yeah, Orlando and Detroit are the two teams that if like I use the analogy, you a big Rocky fan?
Of course.
Okay. So
Rocky
do you remember
IV.
in Rocky 3
Okay.
when Rocky's like, beating up tomato cans and just getting wins, and Mickey kept going to watch this hard puncher from Chicago who just was putting a beating on people
Yeah.
named Clubber Lang?
Clubber Lang. It's
And
dangerous.
he'd watch him and just like, you could see the concern on his face.
Yeah.
That's like when I watch Orlando and Detroit, like that I'm Mickey. Yeah.
1000%, man. Absolute classic series, and hopefully it's going to be a classic season for us, man. Definitely wishing you a lot of luck. Obviously, we'll be watching, man, and continue to represent us well. Anything you got on the pipeline? Or you guys are going to be on today at 3:00, correct? ESPN.
Yeah. Don Hahn Rosenberg on ESPN New York, and thankfully with the Yankees out of the way, unfortunately, but I mean we're all in now. It's like tons of Knicks talk. We'll be talking a ton of Knicks now to go along with the football, and it's and we all know how excited everybody is about this coming season. So it's somewhere where, I don't know about New York sports radio when it comes to talking hoop. There aren't many that really do it or want to do it, but we do, and we definitely will do it. And I know when you're on, you certainly do it as well. But that and just again our stuff at MSG. It's the old crew. We're all back together. Pito, Wally, me, and of course Monica, Tyler, was great in year one on the radio call.
Yeah, Tyler was great, man.
Yep.
He sounds like a vet. He's only 30 something.
Isn't it? Yeah, you see his face, you don't realize the voice is like, wait a minute. Like, you look too young to sound like that. Yeah, he was born for it, man.
Yeah.
He was born for it. And then, of course, the legends, the Hall of Famers, Mike Breen and Walt Clyde Frazier. And, I'll get the, I always think I'm like a Make-A-Wish kid because I get to do a handful of games sitting next to Mike Breen when Clyde can't. So it's always like that, it's like a dream come true kind of thing. I almost feel like it's just somebody's just being nice to me and letting me do it. So I have fun with that. But this could be, that's what you're hoping. Like, is this the year we've all been waiting for? That's certainly what you're hoping for. And for you, man, while I can give you your flowers, what you've built, I've said this to you every year, and every year it just seems to get bigger and bigger, and it looks more and more professional. It looks more like a network is running this thing instead of, I imagine you're like an octopus back there with all the things that you got to do.
Yeah.
But it is impressive, and seeing you, around the garden and seeing all the stuff you're doing. This for you has got to be a pretty exciting year because you have built up to get to the point where you can have a year like this where you can shine and do all the terrific things that you get to do. And you've become not only a voice of the fans, but a trusted voice of the fans, which I think has a lot, like that means a lot more when your word is trusted. Yeah. And that's something you obviously have earned. So I wanted to make sure everybody recognizes that and what you've done.
And appreciate that, man. Well, when you see Cap in the locker room, tell Cap, man, Cap wants us to reveal all our sources and everything, man. So tell Cap, it's all love, man.
We don't do that.
We don't do that over here, Cap. This is primetime journalism over here. I'm learning from Hahn, man.
We don't do that. All you do is tell him, don't worry about my sources. Deny or agree.
Which
one? Can you deny
that's
it?
It, man.
As long as you can't tell me I'm wrong.
That's it. Simple play, man. Hahn Solo, thanks again for the time. We appreciate it, man. Always, man.
Thank you.
Absolutely. All right, ladies and gentlemen, salute to our guy once again, Alan Hahn, a.k.a. the Knicks Fix, man. This has been another fantastic show. I hope you guys enjoyed it as much as I do every single year. I look forward to this. And shout out to Solo, man, the busiest guy in this city when it comes to sports media, sports radio, man. Now he's got to go do a 3.5-hour show with Don Juan LaGreca and Peter Rosenberg on ESPN Radio New York. All right, so definitely appreciate Hahn for joining us. Salute to everybody in the chat, man. Salute to Rhyme Animal, Chuck D, of course, Will Latimer. I see you. My Fanchise channel members, throw a salute in the chat. Let me know that you're in here. Vega, I see you. Salute. Salute, man. Let me get some of the super chats in here. I know you guys, a lot of super chats come in. When guys like Hahn come in, I want to make sure we give him as much time as possible to get his takes out and his insight. So I kind of sit on the super chats a little bit just to make sure that he has his time. So hopefully, you guys that donated, we definitely appreciate it. But just understand the type of show this is. We want to make sure that our guests gets top billing and make sure that that we get through to him. So let me catch up on the super chats here. Shout out to BLW, says CP salute. BLW salute to you, man. $20 super chat. Number 3 on the leaderboard. Said huge salute to Alan Hahn. This was a masterclass in Knicks discussion. Truly appreciate the analysis, fellas. Awesome CP. Hashtag go Knicks. Appreciate you, man. Appreciate you. You know, it goes a lot of work, as Hahn said. I'm an octopus back here, but it's all for the love of the game and making sure that you guys get the quality insight and the quality details around this team. You know, we're going to dissect this thing all the way through. Shout out to Big Surge. DJ Spin That says we're going to gain 5 wins just being fresher and using more bodies. 56 wins. Salute Knicks Nation. Hashtag Spin That. Hashtag Knicks Chip. Eddie Suarez, I see. How you feeling? Okay, let's get some more people in here. Oh, we got to get my guy back on the show. RGT85, Fanchise channel member, salute to you. He's been on my radar, man. We got to get him back on the show. Says, let's go Giants, let's go Knicks. Shout out to Alan for coming through. Number 1 show for the fans, by the fans. And he started off with the G-Man. How about my man, Cam Wham Scatterboo? What a win last night, man. I'm proud of the G-Men last night for that win over the Eagles. You know, we've been a doormat against that team for a number of years now. Unfortunately, I hate to admit it, but they've just been a class above the Giants for almost a decade. Maybe probably even more than that. So it was just good to get a win over them. Short week. The rookies, Dart and Scatterboo, after a nightmare game in New Orleans, they come back, put the team on their back, shorthanded receiving core, and that was just a masterful performance by them and a gritty performance by 2 young players. That was something to be very proud of. Finally, you know, I was listening to the telecast with our guy John Schmelk, Tiki Barber on FAN. Finally, they give the Giants faithful something to go home to, leaving the Meadowlands late night from the stadium. You know, you never leave with a lot of wins. So that was good to see. Shout out to Carl Acevedo, $10 super chat, says, I'm trying to rock with this team this year, but do y'all think Giannis is a serious move in a couple of years? Also, check your DMCP. Appreciate y'all. Carl Acevedo, look, I think the Giannis thing will present itself next year, but I really want to just worry about this year, man. I'm honest. Like when Solo said, you know, what do you think about the Giannis thing? I'm not too thrilled about it, honestly, man. I want to see what this team can do with this build, and I just have so many questions with the Giannis thing. How many players are you trying to give up? How does that impact the depth? Can he fit this new system? Will his game translate well as he gets older? I mean, are you talking about like a 1 to 2 window of him in his absolute prime? You know, and with the amount of work that he's going to have to put in just to make Milwaukee respectable this year, that's a lot more mileage. It's not a slam dunk thing for me. I don't know. I get how great he is. I love him as a player. But I just don't know, man. Let's see how this year goes first. For sure. More super chats coming. Salute to everybody, man. Salute to all the supporters. Shout out to Uncle Reggie, $10 super chat. Says the Knicks can possibly get 4 All-Stars this season. I definitely think 3. And that will depend on if they are, you know, a top seed in the East or a top seed in the league. Certainly possible, especially given that you have at least 3 All-Stars coming back from Achilles injuries in Dame, Dame's gone, he's out west, but I mean, that's one spot in the East that's gone. Halliburton gone, Tatum gone. So I think the Knicks, maybe Bridges can make the All-Star team. Who knows? Okay. Where else are we at here? Let me make sure I got everybody. More from BLW. He says, loving the energy about the new motion offense and team chemistry. Looks like the Knicks are building that poetry in motion. Shout out to you, BLW, man. Definitely appreciate it. The Knicks fix R Nareen 89, Fanchise channel member, $10 super chat. Says, CP, it's the Knicks fix. I want to ask Alan about taking my nickname. Can he shout me out of the show, or can I come on his pod to talk X's and O's? Being a Knicks fan is religion. All right, I'll send that over to Hahn Solo, man. See what he can do, man. So salute to the Knicks fix. Shout out to Soup 5142, Fanchise channel member, $5 super chat says, let's go G-Men. Dart and Scat are NY legends being born. Salute to you, man. Definitely appreciate it. Okay, who else we got here? Shout out to Above the Rim, $10 super chat. Says Arsenio Hall pump fisting right now. Fist pumping. Rocky reference from Hahn Solo has now stamped this season. You deserve this, CP. Blessings, peace and blessings. KFTV fan, 56 wins. JD, get the grill out. Shout out to Above the Rim, man. Fanchise channel member, moderator. And when you think about KFTV day ones, that's a name. I'm not sure we've called a name more than that one. And that just goes to show you over these 9 years, you know, how many people have been with us for such a long time. And Above the Rim has definitely been one of them. You know, he's definitely been one of them. So we appreciate his support. 9 years strong. Continuing. Okay. Soup says, I'm on a Yankee strike. They get no more money until Cashman and the team of math nerds have been purged from the organization. Yankees need work, man. They need work. They need dogs. They need pitching. And they need dogs. And they're just not there right now, man. Shout out to Larry Summers. Welcome to the Fanchise channel members, man. Everybody in the chat at Larry Summers. And welcome them to the team. Okay. Wow, what a show. What a show. Great show. Also, just to remind you guys, Miami, we are headed to you October 26th, Sunday. Knicks versus Heat in Miami. And as usual, man, whenever KFTV comes down to South Beach, we always got to get the people together. This is going to be the first Road Warrior meetup, and it's at same place it usually is, Black Market Bayside, 2 p.m. sharp. If you guys are coming down to meet us or coming for the game, get there at 2 p.m. sharp. Go to KFTVmeetup.com or go to KnicksFanTV.com to RSVP. Free to do so and free to make the table reservation, but we just need to get a confirmed head count. Go there. Go to KnicksFanTV.com or KFTVmeetup.com to RSVP. 2 o'clock. Get there early because when we get there, yo, listen, we pack the place out and it's a line to get in. So we want to make sure that we get as many of you in there as possible and that we're meeting everybody and chopping it up, chilling. Stephen Gomez, I saw your reservation. Stephen Gomez is coming through. So we'll be looking forward to seeing you guys out there. All right? It's a KFTV meetup in Miami. Okay, man. I think today was a fantastic show. I think we had a fantastic session. Somebody the other day was asking, are the Knicks Twitter trophies still there? Yeah, they still there. Shined up bright. As you see, the light is you know, right there on it. It's got its own light, the Knicks Twitter trophy. It's got its own light. Yeah. Salute. Bleak Scataway, how much are drinks and is the food good? Bro, look at Google the place and look at the menu, man. What do you think I am, the concierge? We booked the place, we booked the venue. Meet us over there, man. This guy thinks I'm chat CPT. Google it up, man. Come on, man. Charles Rainey, I saw your confirmation. Charles Rainey's coming through. Looking forward to meeting you there. Eric Horn, salute to you from Jackson, Mississippi. Absolutely. There we go. So, yeah, man, make sure you guys go back in the archives. Check out this week's past content. We had some great guests on the show. And shout out to Hahn Solo. Salute to the replay gang. Salute to everybody on the grind. My Facebook friends. Hooper Musa says, what do you think of the Pacers getting Terry Johnson? Terry Johnson goes back to Indiana. Hey, good for him. You know, look, it's as an athlete, as a professional athlete, their lifespan, if you will, is very short. And so anytime guys get a chance to extend their career and provide for their family, hey, you can't knock it. So as Campaign said on the press conference, he was like, hey, I was in New York getting ready to move. I don't know where he's from. He's getting ready to leave New York. Just waiting on a call for some team that wanted him. And the Pacers actually had Delon Wright. They cut Delon Wright, and then they bring in Campaign. So, hey, hopefully he can find some longevity. You know what I'm saying? Okay, who else we got here? Salute everybody. Jay Reed, JT Riddick, Eddie Suarez, Timothy Dantzler. We are in there, man. All right, so we'll see you guys most likely Monday. But if anything happens, you guys know where to come to. Like, share, and subscribe. Join the mission to 100K subscribers, man. Thank you, everybody, for your support today. And we'll see you on Monday, man. Peace.